Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. We're here. We're queer. Get used to it. We're back with Hunter the Reckoning, the Beast of Glenkildove. Supposedly the final chapter. I'm trusting you, chat, that this is the final chapter. Otherwise, then I'm just... I would be fine if there were more chapters. That just makes me a liar, which is also fine. Because apparently, I'm being gaslit again about Enya and stuff and how she's, like, not real. And I'm, like, the only one who's gonna remember. I love her. I'm so sad that that happened to her. I don't know if there's a way for you to save her in the game. Probably not. She seems like a plot thingy that happens, but like, I would totally play it again to like be with her and romance her because I think she's amazing. More romance. Oh yeah, and Kitty died. Which is fine. I'm fine that Kitty died. I think it's great plot development. I'm here for the plot development of Kitty being dead. Ah! Yes. You can at a cost. Paid, babe. Paid. Whatever the cost is. Let me write you a blank check for it. Love it. Yeah, so we are taking on the last chapter. Cormac is not dead. We did not let Daniel shoot him, or injured, or whatever. Even though I desperately wanted to because I wanted to see what would happen. But he's not dead, and no one's been shot, and now we need to save Neve from the, I can't remember their name, the Red something or other society, the cuckoo people, the cuckoo crazies, run by President Snow, which is what I always think of when I see his name, who want her and to sacrifice her to the Cairn spirit, which is the Beast of Glenkildove. That's all twisted by corruption because people are bad people. Human beings are the worst beings. Should be this chapter then epilogue unless you're forgetting something. Well, we'll find out, won't we? All right. Chapter 9, Lost and Gone Forever. Dreadful story, Clementine. I am alone against hordes I cannot stop nor let go. I stand here in the long cold hours alone against every foe. Don't know what that is. Neve's bedroom has been devastated. No! There are muddy boot prints on the carpet and the little chair is shattered, kindling on the floor. Blood has been spattered across a picture of a unicorn tacked to the wall and stains the page of an open children's book. Myths and Legends of Ireland, the one you read to her at the start of the night. It feels like a lifetime ago. It really does. It was like 2 weeks ago. The race back through the caves was a nightmare. Jamie's ugly, dying laughter pursuing you through the darkness. His gun with its one remaining silver bullet in your possession. You were too late. There we go. The Red Branch Knights had already struck at the wolf's head. They must have come through the woods. Mare met them at the front door, her wolfhounds at her heels. They seemed to have clubbed her down with contemptuous ease, but Bran accounted for one of them before they hacked him apart with machetes. You kill puppies? You're dead. You're dead. Let's kill them all. Sorry, I lost my place. I hate that. At the front door, you find the body of a Red Branch Knight, his throat torn out, lying in a pool of blood underneath the dog's dismembered body. Hate that. Together, you lift up Mare's unconscious body and put her on the sofa in the living room before heading upstairs. Upstairs, it is just as you feared. They have taken Neve. Cormac's face is white with fear and rage. Claudia looks sick. They're going to kill her. Oh God, they're going to kill that little girl. Daniel puts a hand on Claudia's shoulder. No, Claudia, they're not going to kill her. We're going to save her. And if they try to stop us, we're going to kill them. I'm sorry, it's like an aside. I have been so mean to Kitty throughout this whole game because I found her annoying from moment one, and I think it's so funny that I feel absolutely nothing that she hasn't really even been in the I feel like she's a sort of a side character. I mean, everyone's a side character to our main character, but she's like a side character. She's like a side character to the side characters, and I feel nothing that she's gone, and it makes me feel like a bad person. It's so funny. Imagine if you romanced her and stuff and like dealt with like whatever, like, you know, the abusive fiance that she has. Imagine if you cared that much. That's crazy. Rip Kitty. Claudia gives a grim smile. She seems to be returning to herself. Right, we know one thing from what that bastard Jamie told us down below. She's to be their Samhain sacrifice at Glenkildove. That's this time tomorrow night. We have 24 hours. We don't need 24 hours, Daniel says. We know where they are. Their freaky cult compound. Let's hit them there now. Ooh, I want to. Claudia shakes her head. No, they'll be expecting us or the police or both to do that. They won't be there anymore, and they'll probably have trapped it. Besides, we need the time to prepare. From what Liam said, Imani told him we'll be going up against werewolves. Remember the all-weather gallops at Greenwood? We'll be up against at least 3 of those things, and this time they'll know we're coming. Oh, excuse me. We're going to need all the help we can get. Who owes us a favor, and who have we pissed off for that matter? Who do we have to watch out for? A werewolf we saved owes us a favor. We could call the guards. I don't think I've made friends with anyone. We could call the guards, asked Daniel. You shake your head and explain the situation to the others. You're one of Ireland's most wanted at the moment. Claudia grimaces. I don't really know why. Besides, I got framed for murder, kind of. But I didn't really do anything. This is not good. I heard someone had killed some guards. That was you. Even Daniel looked shocked. Christ, Liam, what the fuck did you do? I didn't, though. But I didn't. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Let's stay focused on the task at hand. Shh. Don't worry about it. You think about what Mare told you about Orla O'Donnell's fixation on gaining custody of Neve, her great-granddaughter. Nobody knows these mountains better than the Red O'Donnells, and they have a reputation as brutal brawlers. If Orla knew that the Red Branch Knights were threatening Neve's life, she'd certainly order her kin to help you save the child. But she would return Neve to you once. But would she return Neve to you once she got her? You know how it would devastate Mare if Orla took Neve. Yeah, sure, I understand that. But she'd be alive, so. You think about the Society of St. Leopold. The Society views you as a traitor. Not only can you expect no help from them, but you will have to be wary. They may well have sent a team out to kill or capture you. Then there's the Arcanum. You doubt they can offer much physical support, but their archives are vast and extensive. They might have knowledge you could use in the battle ahead. Perhaps they might be willing to help you. There's also Feda, the biotech company run by the enigmatic Mulcahy sisters. They have extensive resources and have hinted they are capable of formulating compounds that might be particularly effective against lycanthropes. Perhaps you should call them. Then there's the Duffy crime family. They've been mixed up in all of this ever since the summer of Simon's death, and they have guns, fighters, drugs, and cash. Perhaps you could get some help from them, although the cost could be high. Then there are the werewolves themselves. You think over what you have learned about them. I'd rather do the werewolves, honestly, more than anybody else. You discovered that Imani Mokrani, who once saved you from Glenkildove, was one of them and once their leader before Rory Hannon seized control of the pack. That's right. But she died in the tunnels underneath the Wolf's Head. Based on Imani's description of Rory, there will be no chance of turning him aside from the path he's chosen. He's obsessed with the idea of taking revenge on the human world. Imani mentioned Aemond as the gentlest and calmest member of the pack and owes you a debt. You know that he will be on your side and when the time comes to confront Rory and rescue Neve. Imani also spoke of Grey, the fiercest and wildest of the pack. As far as you know, you have never met her. According to Imani, the oldest member of the pack is Old Tom, an elderly tramp who's wandered the roads for decades. You remember an encounter with him just before you entered the caves 9 years ago. It was Old Tom who pursued you through the darkness that day. That's right. Supposedly, Old Tom is increasingly violent and unpredictable. You just have to assume he will take Rory's side. Okay. There's a long silence while you contemplate the odds against you. They're not great. I'm not gonna lie. They're pretty terrible. Then Cormac speaks. When I was little, he says, my dad came back from the fields with a lamb. It was lambing season, and her mother had died. I was mad about animals back then. My dad said I could look after her. I called her Lucky. I can't remember why. Because she survived. We kept her in the barn. I made her a little nest out of straw for a bed. I fed her milk from a bottle. I remember the smell of the rubber tip and the warm milk, the way she'd latch on and let me cradle her in her arms while she drank. Well, Lucky turned from a lamb into a sheep, and she had to go back to the fields. I pleaded and pleaded with Da, but he said we couldn't keep a full-grown sheep as a pet. We took her up there. She didn't want to go. She'd never seen any other sheep before. She never lived out in the open or slept on the hard ground. Da said she thought she was human. I used to think of her up there on cold and rainy nights, waiting for someone to come and find her and bring her back home. My God. It's devastating. I love this man. What happened to her? Whenever I went up to that field, she'd run to me. She wanted me to take her home. She never lost that belief that she was human, even though it caused her nothing but pain. Cormac sighs. I was with Neve for a little while before we gave her to Mare. I held her in my arms, played with her tiny little fingers. I fed her. The smell of the milk and the rubber was just the same, even after all those years. I promised her I'd never ever let harm come to her. There are tears in his eyes. I know I've hurt you all. What I did was unforgivable. We need to finish this. We need to save Neve. I hated you for a long time, Claudia says slowly. I held on to that hate. Even as I found out more, even as I learned about how fucked up things really are, even on days when my brother's murder seemed like just one more tiny pebble in this huge pyramid of cruelty and suffering that they've built up all around us. That hate had to keep me going. Now, though? Now I don't know. Simon's death... Constantly apologizing for this man. Simon's death wasn't Cormac's fault, Claudia. He couldn't control what was happening to him. But Cormac shakes his head. I don't know if that's true. It isn't, Claudia replies quietly. Simon loved you and you killed him. He was 10 times the man you are. Cormac accepts this with lowered eyes. Daniel speaks, addressing Cormac without looking at him. I blamed you for Simon's death for a long time. I wanted to kill you. I think because you scared me, because what happened to Simon scared me. But what does it matter now? Kitty's dead? She believed that it wasn't your fault. Maybe she was right. I'd like to think that. Cormac shakes his head. I'd like to as well, but that day at Glenkildove, I wanted to kill Simon because he was the reason why my father was dead. That anger was in my heart. It was me. So his death is on me. Why? What did he do? Did he call the police? Is that why? Simon was just trying to do the right thing. He didn't realize it would get Terry killed. Was Simon the one who called the police on him? Daniel shrugs. It doesn't matter now. It's ancient history, he says. What matters is stopping these fuckers who took Neve. Cormac closes his eyes. I'm going to search these hills. I know Neve's smell, and now I know the smell of those bastards who came here and took her. Maybe I can find them. Claudia speaks next. I'm going to get to work. First thing I'm going to get us guns. I worked with a group of militant hunters in Arizona. They taught me the basics of how to shoot. That's a Night Road reference. There's an old guy up in Cavan, IRA gunrunner turned hunter, armor after Rots killed his brother. He just sits in his crumbling old farmhouse up there. Makes weapons and bombs to kill monsters all day long. He might not have anything much on short notice, but it's better than nothing. Claudia looks at you. Make sure you get back here before 8 p.m., Claudia. Claudia salutes. Yes, boss. She's not being sarcastic. Why would you put me in charge? That's such a stupid idea. She's not being sarcastic. You realize that ever since you emerged from the caves, everyone has naturally assumed that you are in charge. They are looking for you to lead them, to guide them through this chaos and terror. How do you feel about that? I feel a heavy burden of responsibility. They're trusting me with their lives. I don't want this role, but it's been forced on me. Stupid. I'm gonna get everybody killed. Daniel stands up. I'm going back to Dublin, he says. He raises a hand as Claudia, furious, opens her mouth. Just temporarily. I'll come back. But the way I see it, we all have our specialties. Or specialities. Mine is moving money around. He looks at you. I've still got a couple of emergency stashes, offshore bank accounts in the Caymans. You're going to need money to pay for these weapons, Claudia. I'm going to get it to you. It's time to consider what you need to do yourself. Your mind keeps returning to the unconscious mare who you left downstairs. She clearly needs medical attention. But do you have time to take her to the hospital some 20 miles away in Wicklow Town? And the guards are looking for you. That's right. Next door in the Wolf's Head proper, you can just hear Joe the bartender at work. The Wolf's Head closes down over the winter months. Joe has just come by to do some maintenance. He won't be expecting to see Mare. If nothing stops him, he'll simply finish his work at the inn and then go. Perhaps you should tell him about what happened. Joe is a former boxer and a tough, practical man who is devoted to Mare and Neve. He would do anything he could to help if you could convince him first that you aren't crazy. But do you have the right to drag one more person into this dark world? Why, because we lost one already? Then again, it's been a long and exhausting night, and yet more grim work lies ahead of you. Perhaps the best thing you could do for Neve is to get some food and coffee inside of you. What will you do? I'm going to document every detail of the Red Branch Knights raid before too much time has passed. It might help my case if the law does become involved in this. That sounds like the worst of all of these options. It sounds like the least helpful of all of these options, so I'm going to do that one. You move through the house, meticulously taking pictures and dictating audio notes into your phone. The process of cataloging and documenting the cultist violation of your aunt's home has an oddly calming effect, allowing you to distance yourself from the anger and fear that the raid inspired. By the end of half an hour, you have a full record of the attack, which you store as a single file on the cloud. If you end up in jail, it may help your legal case, and if you perish tonight, the file's existence may at least mean that the Red Branch Knights will not escape punishment. That's me. Oh, yeah. In the confrontation tonight, you're going to need all of the allies that you can get, but who should you turn to? You have already placed an oak leaf in the window of your room. You know that Eamon will see it and understand its significance. He'll be fighting for you at Glenkildove tonight. Oh, what's the stupid decision? What's the stupid call here? I should call the one of the like the grunts who works for the Duffy family who's like, hey, oh, hey, that's so stupid. Who I imagine wears a fucking tracksuit and a fanny pack. I'm gonna go. Seems like the stupidest possible one to do, so I'm gonna do that one. Yep. You call the number Deco gave you back in Dublin. Liam? Deco answers breezily. Story bud? You explain that Neve has been kidnapped by the Red Branch Knights cult and ask for his help. Now that sounds terrible, Deco says. A little girl? Them fucking assholes. Personally, I'd love to go and fucking murder every last one of those cunts, but we're businessmen. We'd be risking our lives and freedom. I need something to show the lads, and Mike Duffy too, that it's worthwhile. What will you offer, Deco? This is so dumb. From all my remaining savings? Why? Oh, I could hand over Cormac. Deco could set up a Duffy selling heroin and crack cocaine. I really think that this is the one that would get him. This one right here. That's such a bad decision. That's so bad. Yep, that one. You paint a picture for Deco, suggesting that after the Red Branch Knights are removed, it would be possible for the Duffys to set up in southern Wicklow and make rich profits outside the city's saturated markets. What about the O'Donnells, though? They control your fucking Bogger Hills, and them fuckers hate us, Deco says. You try to persuade Deco that the O'Donnells won't be a problem, but he won't be swayed. You don't know how Mike gets about those creepy fuckers, he says. They fucking scare him, and that's the truth. Now, as long as Orlo O'Donnell is alive, the Duffys are staying out of the Wicklow Hills. Best of luck, though. He hangs up. So bad. It is no help coming for me. It is noon. The monsters you face tonight are far faster and stronger than you. You'll need every advantage you can get. What will you do? I got a special edge for research. So let's research how to fight werewolves. So stupid. So stupid. Why would you call the Duffys? It's so dumb. Which is why I had to do it. You begin looking through the dedicated hunter channels and forums online. It becomes clear from a preliminary scan of the channels that there is much more information online about vampires than werewolves, whether accurate or otherwise. They are very, very few first-hand accounts of encounters with werewolves. Much of the information you find is either feverish speculation or else clearly based solely on folklore and urban legends rather than on personal experience. Yes, because of the delirium. Nevertheless, you set to work looking through it. Werewolves can be killed by being cut to pieces. Werewolves can be killed by an ash stake through the heart. This statement has provoked outcry and a lengthy heated argument about whether stakes only apply to rots or whether they apply to rots at all, which has resulted in several bans. Werewolves can be killed by a silver bullet, but it has to have a cross carved into it and the letters JMJ for Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Werewolves aren't real. Werewolves are just an animalistic breed of rot, so they can be killed the same way a rot can, with an ash stake through the heart, cue another huge argument, and so on. You eventually decide that you're wasting precious time trolling through all of this. Maybe there's useful information in there somewhere, but you haven't been able to find it. Thanks for the edge, Saint Edna, or whatever the hell your name was. Really helped me out. Thanks a lot. Perfect. It's late afternoon. You still have a few hours for the confrontation at Glenkildove. You've done absolutely nothing. They may yet be critical. While you're considering what to do, your phone buzzes with a message from an unknown number. Our mistress has instructions for you. The Bridge Tavern, half an hour. It's obviously from an agent of Noriko's. Ignoring it could be dangerous. There are also the other members of Rory's pack. You could even the odds tonight by picking one of them. From what Imani told you, both Gray and Old Tom prefer their own company. If you could find one or the other, you might be able to eliminate them or perhaps even persuade them to change sides. Yeah. Let's hunt down Gray. Sorry, Noriko. From what Imani told you, I'm not going back over there. She's just gonna mind wobble me again. Gray's lair is somewhere in the valley of Glen Mallory, in the heart of the Wicklow Mountains. This has long been a refuge for rebels and outlaws. In the 16th century, it was the stronghold of Fiach McHugh O'Byrne, one of the last of the old Irish chieftains. Escapees from the British person in Dublin Castle would make their way here. It was also the site of one of the bloodiest English defeats in the island's history when O'Byrne's men ambushed and slaughtered an English army. How will you approach the search for Gray? What on earth would I ask? Do some historical research? Yeah, well, I'll try the vision edge again. It's probably not gonna work again. You drive out to consult the local archives in the library at Wicklow Town. You have to be careful. The guards are looking for you. Fortunately, they don't seem to have told the general public of your wanted status. You suspect that if it's indeed Noriko who has put out the call for your arrest, she wants you taken in quietly. You do waste precious time, however, in taking circuitous routes to avoid the Garde. But although you comb the archives for anything related to wolves or Glen Mallory, you find nothing of any use. You are forced to abandon your research. Time is moving on quickly. You turn to the wolf's head. So that edge was for nothing. I love that for me. It's late in the day, the sun has gone down, and a full moon is rising up, illuminating the Wicklow Mountains above the wolf's head in haunting shades of silver. You know that you'll be going into battle soon. Cormac is the first of the others to return. He lopes out of the woods, his lean figure framed by the setting sun behind him, his eyes blazing with frustration. Right back at you, buddy. Same. I lost them, he tells you. Lost them at the meeting of the waters. They knew to go into the water to mask their scent. Fucking gutless cowards. He clenches his fists, marching back and forth around Mare's kitchen as though he can't stand still. His anger is growing out of control, and for a moment you wonder if he's about to transform. But no hint of your thought crosses your face. You know better than to show fear. He looks at you, and so you can tell that he is thinking of how he almost killed you. He looks stricken. She must be so scared, Cormac says. His voice breaks. Oh God, she must be so scared. It'll be all right, Cormac. Everything will be all right. Cormac looks at you. I'm scared, he says. I know I should be scared that they'll hurt my daughter, but I don't feel that way. I feel angry. I feel a rage I can't control. What I'm scared of is what I'll become facing them. What that anger will do to me. You can control it, Cormac. You're stronger now. You're fighting for something, and you have us. You have me. Let me have your baby, Empreg. Cormac's eyes shine as he looks at you, but then he looks away. Why? He says simply. Because I'm your himbo. I'm dumb. I love you. Always have. Always will. Cormac gives a tiny sigh. It is as though you have just reached out and lifted a heavy weight from his shoulders. Neither of you says anything for a little while after that. I love it. Cormac puts a pot of coffee on, and as the smell of brewing coffee fills the air, you talk about the past 8 years. He describes waking up in the caves below Glenkildove the morning after he killed Simon, with only vague dreamlike memories of blood and death and running free through the hills. When Imani and the others called to him, howling his name to the moon, he ran from them. He wasn't sure whether they were real or hallucinations, but either way, he sensed that if he listened to them, he would become something other than human. Cormac fled to the Dublin slums, having discovered that the howling voices ceased within the city limits. In some dark corners of Dublin, there were others, strange and feral creatures of the city with matted fur and fetid breath, but he found that if he avoided their territory, they left him alone. Cormac loathed the sounds and smells of the city. To his suddenly exquisitely sharp senses, exhaust fumes and rotting waste stank unbearably, while the hot concrete of the streets hurt to touch, and the noise of traffic and people was inescapable day or night. But he knew that he was waiting for what was waiting for him beyond the city, and so he stayed in Dublin, homeless, and taking to alcohol and heroin to numb his guilt-soaked nightmares. Cormac can remember very little of the subsequent 4 years. Agnieszka's halfway house gave him both a place to stay, and it was there he met Aaliyah, another lost soul. The two of them became intimate, and the result was Neve. Cormac was overwhelmed with horror at the idea of letting Neve grow up to live the same kind of life he and Aaliyah were living on the streets of Dublin. In desperation, he called Mare, and she agreed to care for Neve. From that point on, Cormac was resolved to become the kind of man that his daughter needed him to be. He gave up drugs and drinking, found work where he could on construction, fruit picking, and sometimes even busking. I don't know what busking is. He hadn't been able to play since Simon's death, but he found it returning to him. Busking? Is that like a playing an instrument? It was you, he says quietly, as well as Neve. I wanted to see you again one day. I have to ask, what about Aaliyah? Where is she? Cormac shakes his head. It wasn't like that. We were lost, frightened, desperate for warmth. We weren't in love. You look at him. He's such a strange combination of gentleness and anger, of danger and vulnerability. His eyes are cast down. He looks so tired, but he looks up at you, and for a moment, there's a spark of the old electricity between you. You know that he still wants you. Perfect. Oh, yes. I can't help myself. I draw him up out of his chair and kiss him. I want him. I need to be with him tonight. I love this. I live for this. And the moment that the two of you are kissing, it is as though a switch has been thrown. He returns your kiss with wild passion, pressing your body against him and holding you so tight that you feel as though you cannot breathe. The scream of the coffee pot on the range breaks your kiss. It is bubbling over. You switch off the flame before leading Cormac upstairs to your bedroom. His hands, hard and calloused but gentle, strip you of your clothes and lift you onto the bed. He looks stricken as he sees the scars across your body, the wounds he inflicted. He kisses each one lightly. That's right, I forgot he tore into our throat. It's perfect. He kisses each one lightly, finishing with the one on your face. Never again, he says, a quiet promise. I'll die before I hurt you ever again. This is magic. I love this so much. I'm so happy. Cormac makes love with a wild, animalistic abandon that calls forth the same uncontrollable impulses in you. Grief, fear, and pain vanish. There is only the moment of union. Afterwards, you lie together, your breathing ragged and shallow. Cormac smiles at you, drawing you close to him. I love you. I did one thing, and this is real. Now I can die. Now I can die saving Neve, and I'm totally happy. I love you. I love you too, he whispers. The moment lasts until you hear the noise of a car outside. Claudia is coming back. You hastily dress yourselves and go back down to the kitchen. I think consistently, one thing I have done, the only thing, besides making stupid choices, the only consistent thing I have done is, like, constantly apologize for Cormac and still be in love with him. And, like, our headcanon is that, like, we couldn't even, like, get further promoted in the military because, like, we couldn't get over Cormac. So I think that's hilarious and perfect, and I love it. Liam and Cormac forever. I hope we both die. Everyone is here. It's time to go. One by one, you climb into the Jeep. It's a short, tense drive. You are forced to leave the Jeep at the base of the mountain where the road ends. Beyond lie the maze-like winding trails and dark woods of Glenkildove, stalked by monsters. The full moon rising overhead paints the network of leafless branches over your head with glowing silver filigree. You can just see the lights of Ballyavon in the distance below you. It's strange to think of people drinking at the pub or falling asleep in the light of their TV screens back there, completely unaware of the desperate battle that is about to unfold in the darkness above their homes. Somewhere in that darkness is a frightened little girl. You must find her and bring her home. You look up the path. Oh my god, then we could raise Neve together. I mean, now maybe I want to live. I mean, Mare would not be happy about that, but whatever. Shut up. You look up the path that leads to Glenkildove, remembering the summer day that you first walked it all of those years ago. The Red Branch Knights will have been busy. You can expect ambushes, barricades, and traps all the way up to Glenkildove. They will have turned these trails into a lethal, horrifying playground. And among the trees beyond the path, a distant howling sound, and it is echoed by another and another. The werewolves are waiting for you. Awesome. But then there was another howl, a defiant, proud noise. Somehow you know that it is Eamon. He is out there in the darkness somewhere, prepared to take on his own packmates to repay the debt he owes you. Oh, brother. Cormac slips out of the car and disappears into the shadows of the trees without a word. You know that he'll be making his way up the mountain in strange and terrible form. You could almost feel sorry for any Red Branch Knights who stand between him and his daughter tonight. One way or another, you need to get to Glenkildove. The path ahead is guarded by Red Branch Knight cultists armed with guns, machetes, and grenades. The woods beyond the path are stalked by werewolves. How will you do it? In the stupidest way possible, but let me just figure out which one that is. Yeah. We will fight our way up the path. I will command and coordinate the attack. I am team leader, so I get to do that and get everyone killed. Ready? Here we go. Knots of Red Branch Knights, emaciated men with shaven heads, clutching assault rifles and shotguns, commanding defensive positions all the way up the trail. The resistance looks formidable, but you know that it is next to nothing beside the real threat that stalks through the woods to either side. You simply have to break through them in an overwhelming onslaught before the werewolves can descend on you. You take out the shotgun that Claudia brought you back from Kavan. It's time to use it. This is so funny! For the reckoning! The Red Branch Knights are dismayed by the speed and ferocity of your attack. Some are already scrambling away, but one holds his ground and fires on you. The bullet crashes into your shoulder, hitting you like a freight train. The pain is agonizing. You drop to the ground, the shock knocking you cold, and the knight follows up by firing his entire clip into your body. You die here on the mountain path to Glenkildove. End. No, that's perfect. That's the perfect ending to the story of Liam the Himbo. He's dumb, and for some reason, everyone around him wanted him to be the leader and he wasn't, though. He wasn't smart. He was just a grunt who should have just grunted his way through that. But he did get to grunt with Cormac at the end, and I am so incredibly pleased with that ending. I'm so incredibly pleased that the author would put that in there, that you could just die before the battle even happens and everyone's dead. Or you just assume at least you're dead. That's a perfect ending. I'm so incredibly surprised it took that long. Me too. I'm surprised I made it to at least the final chapter with all the stupid decisions I was making. Perfect ending for Liam the Himbo is to just die, is to Leroy Jenkins himself into death. Absolute 10 out of 10 game. Will play it again and actually play an intelligent character and see if that goes better. So incredibly pleased with this game. This game's amazing. I'm so sorry. It was only half an hour of me reading. I didn't expect... I mean, I really would have expected Sierra to die more, but I'm gonna be honest. All right, I'm gonna make one little tiff about this game. I think in the moments where it mattered, like where something bad was happening, I relied on supposedly the skills that I had, like the fighting skills and because of my curiosity drive, the research skills even got an edge from a saint. I guess no one will remember Enya because I'm dead. Lol. And I had really high, I had like 4 dots in intimidation or something. And that didn't work to get the journal from Mad Jack Dunbar. Certain things that and maybe if I played on storyteller mode, it would have been better. But certain things that I feel like should have worked, me relying on my largest dice pools, for sure should have mattered or made something happen. But for whatever reason, I feel like every time I did actually rely on the things that either correlated to my creed or my drive, fell flat and nothing happened. And I don't know if that's maybe just me being incredibly unlucky with those rolls, or if there's maybe an imbalance there in the hidden dice roller of this game. So I just want to point that out, that I think that was a little bit unfair. Who? Oh, stop it. I said Enya. No one's gonna remember. That sucks, because that's the only part of it I'm sad that she's dead. Yeah, that's the only thing I'm gonna gripe about. But I got to have sex with Cormac and then immediately die. I couldn't. That's a movie I'd watch over and over again. That's a movie I'd pay right now to go see. I love it so much. But yeah, I'm not going to restore to the beginning of the chapter 9. It is so nice, though, that they're giving me, that you give me these options here to restore to us. It's like when you're playing your choose your own adventure game and you like keep your finger, or reading a choose your own adventure novel and you keep your finger in certain things that you might want to go back to. It's so nice. These are apparently where I made the most mistakes: 4, 6, and 8. And also 9, obviously, because I got no help and nothing going on. For the reckoning! Okay. But no, I would totally just restart the game. 10. Absolutely fantastic. I'm actually going to give it a 9 because of the thing I griped about. So I'm going to give it a 9 for that reason, because I think your dice roller is a little bit off, or something in the balance isn't correct, because that makes no sense. Okay. But thank you so much, everybody. I'll be back for the next thing that we're streaming. Who knows what it's going to be? I certainly don't know. But I'll be back for that and for other cool stuff. There's more cool stuff coming. I can't wait for everyone to that. But I hope you have an amazing weekend. Let's all this weekend pour one out for Liam the Himbo Hunter, who died after finally banging his boyfriend that he's been obsessed with for 10 years. What a legend. What a man. I love it. All right. Have an awesome weekend, everybody.